With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, on the second day of his visit to Algeria, Pope Leo XIV has visited a home for the elderly at the Basilica of St. Augustine in the eastern province of Annaba. President Abdelmajid Tebboune has reaffirmed Algeria's full and unwavering commitment to continue in its close cooperation with the Vatican to promote a spirit of understanding, fostering dialogue and strengthening coexistence. In Sudan, as the UN has warned of a worsening humanitarian disaster, nearly 700 civilians have been killed by drone attacks carried out by the paramilitary support forces since January as the conflict enters its fourth year. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Slimani. His Holiness Pope Leo XIV has visited a home for the elderly at the Basilica of St. Augustine, the second stop of his visit to the eastern province of Annaba. The Pope was warmly welcomed by the elderly care home at the Basilica of St. Augustine, where he met with staff members who thanked Algerians for their generosity and support, which has helped them continue caring for residents. Pope Leo XIV listened to the residents of the facility who come from different nationalities. Earlier, he visited the archaeological site of Hippo in the city of Annaba, home to the historic Church of Peace. The Vatican pontiff was accompanied by the Minister of Culture and Arts, Melika Benduda, who briefed him on the significance of this site. Algeria's guest also laid a wreath and planted a branch from an olive tree descended from St. Augustine's tree as a symbol of world peace. On the second day of his official visit to Algeria, the Pope was received at Rabah Bitat International Airport in Annaba by the Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf, along with civil and military authorities of Annaba province. In downtown Annaba, residents warmly welcomed Pope Leo XIV, who greeted citizens and interacted with them in a symbolic atmosphere reflecting cultural exchange and shared history. The visit drew strong public interest, with crowds gathering early. The visit translated Algeria's image as a country of tolerance and peaceful coexistence. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has reaffirmed Algeria's full and unwavering commitment to continuing its close cooperation with the Vatican, with a view to promoting a spirit of understanding, fostering dialogue and strengthening coexistence. The details with Masoud Sharfi.
In a speech made at Jam' al-Jazair Cultural Center on the occasion of Pope Leo XIV's official visit to Algeria, the President of the Republic said that His Holiness the Pope is the most worthy bearer of the torch of human and spiritual values that unite, those of freedom, dialogue and peaceful coexistence, emphasizing that Algeria is fully aware of the deep significance and enduring scope of these authentic values, which constitute the very soul of its national identity. President Tebboune stressed that Algeria throughout its history has been a land of harmony, of genuine interaction and of fruitful symbiosis, offering a safe haven to the oppressed, the persecuted and the destitute, tirelessly defending the sacred dignity of the human being and standing firmly by all just causes in the world, whether in Africa, Asia, Latin America or even in Europe.
وأنت اليوم قداسة البابا خير حامل لمشعل القيم الإنسانية والروحية الجامعة، قيم الحرية والحوار والتعايش. والجزائر تدرك تمام الإدراك معنى ومغزى هذه القيم الأصيلة والمتأصلة في هويتها، وهي ملتزمة تمام الالتزام بدعمها والعمل على ترقيتها في مختلف فضاءات انتمائها الإقليمية وخارج فضاءاتها الإقليمية هذه. فالجزائر كانت على الدوام فضاء للتناغم والتفاعل والانسجام بتوفيرها الملاذ الآمن لمظلومين والمضطهدين والمحرومين ودفاعها الدائم عن الكرامة الإنسانية واصطفافها المستمر إلى جانب القضايا العادلة في كافة أرجاء العالم، لا سيما في إفريقيا وفي آسيا وفي أمريكا اللاتينية وحتى في أوروبا.
The President said that at such a delicate juncture, the voice of His Holiness carries exceptional resonance and unique moral authority. The President of the Republic further stated that Pope Leo XIV is today the most compelling voice for peace in the world, at a time when conflicts continue to undermine the security and stability of numerous regions, on the top of which the Middle East, notably the dangerous development facing the Palestinian issue and the tragedies which have affected and still affect the Gulf region.
وأنتم اليوم قداسة البابا خير مرافع عن السلام في العالم في وقت تعصف فيه الحروب بأمن واستقرار عديد المناطق عبر العالم وفي مقدمتها منطقة الشرق الأوسط، ونحن ممن يجدون العزاء في موقفكم الشجاع والإنساني من مأساة غزة ومن التطورات الخطيرة التي عرفتها ولا تزال تعرفها القضية الفلسطينية ككل، ومن كل الكوارث والمآسي التي ابتليت بها منطقة الخليج شر البلاء.
President Tebboune recalled that Algeria is the homeland of Saint Augustine, described as the Pope's spiritual father and a towering figure of human thought, while also affirming Algeria's pride in his enduring legacy. He likewise highlighted the legacy of Emir Abdelkader as a pioneer of tolerance, dialogue, and peaceful coexistence.
During the first day of his official visit to Algeria, the first ever to be paid by a supreme pontiff since independence, His Holiness Pope Leo XIV has visited the various religious and cultural landmarks of Jamal Jazair. During his visit, he reiterated his strong commitment to promoting the values of dialogue, peace and coexistence. Miriam Barshi has more in this report.
On the occasion, Director of Jamal Jazair, Sheikh Mohammed Mahmoud Al-Qasimi Al-Husseini stressed that the mosque aims to be a space for dialogue and coexistence between civilizations.
The Mosque of Algiers aspires to be a space for knowledge, dialogue, and serving humanity, and a destination for all those seeking knowledge and serenity. Whatever their religion and whatever land they come from, it seeks to establish a spiritual balance that nurtures the self in justice and mercy, and makes the refinement of the human being the foundation of development, so that civilizational construction becomes an extension of a light that shines in hearts before it manifests in reality, drawing all this from what Algeria carries in its historical experience of an authentic message of coexistence and moderation.
Director of the Great Mosque of Paris, Shamsuddin Hafiz, for his part, said that the Pope's historic visit carries a true message of peace from the land of Algeria, a country that has endured many trials throughout its history.
Never since antiquity has Algeria received a pope, and this message was extremely strong, a message of peace, because I think that Pope Leo XIV is a pilgrim of peace, and today he begins his journey in Africa by opening the door through Algeria. It is an important message. He recalled the trials experienced by the Algerian people, their resilience, colonization, and all the hardships the Algerian people went through while remaining standing.
Pope Leo XIV then visited the Basilica of Notre-Dame d'Afrique, Our Lady of Africa, in the heights of Algiers, where he presided over a religious ceremony. In his address, he described the Basilica as a symbol of communion between Christians and Muslims.
Peace and harmony are fundamental characteristics of the Christian community since its origins. In this regard, Saint Augustine affirms that the Church engenders peoples, but they are the members of a single one. And Saint Cyprian writes, "For God, the greatest sacrifice is the peace that reigns among us." This basilica is the sign, the symbol of a church made of living stones, where under the mantle of Notre-Dame d'Afrique, communion between Christians and Muslims has been built, bringing everyone together like children, each enshrined by its diversity, united by the same aspiration to dignity, love, justice, and peace.
In Algiers, Pope Leo XIV praised Algerians' resilience, solidarity and hospitality, saying their experience positions Algeria as a bridge for justice, dialogue and peaceful coexistence.
The Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons, Mohammed Arqab, had talks today with his Jordanian counterpart, Saleh Ali Hamad Al-Kharabshi, during which the two sides discussed ways to strengthen bilateral cooperation in the hydrocarbon sector. During the meeting, the two ministers assessed cooperation between the two countries in the hydrocarbon sector, particularly ways to strengthen partnership and develop trade exchanges, particularly in the areas of crude oil exports, liquefied petroleum gas and liquefied natural gas, as well as exploring opportunities for cooperation in supplying Jordan with these resources and in the distribution of storage and petroleum products. Meanwhile, Mr. Arqab received the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of Economic Affairs and Special Envoy to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Korea, Park Yong-hoon, during which they discussed ways to strengthen cooperation between the two countries. During the meeting, the two sides discussed prospects for developing Algerian-Korean cooperation, particularly in the fields of hydrocarbons and the oil and gas industry, while reviewing ongoing projects and prospects for developing the partnership. The Algeria-Spain Business Forum, bringing together economic operators from the two countries today, took place here in Algiers with the aim of strengthening bilateral cooperation and exploring new investment opportunities, particularly in key sectors such as agri-food industries, fisheries and innovation. Our colleague Moradeit Mukhtar covered the event and met with the project manager of AMEC Positive Industry, Joan Barcels, who had the following to say.
I am here from AMEC, the main association that represents the industry in Spain. All our companies have the expertise, the technology to develop projects abroad, projects in Algeria. Right now we are representing the exhibition Alimentaria Food Tech, is the main exhibition in Spain regarding the agro-food industry, with all the value chain represented there. And Algeria is the host country, so all the companies that they have projects or they are looking for specific solutions, they can contact us, contact AMEC to have these benefits that we are organizing for all of them.
That was the project manager at AMEC Positive Industry, Joan Barcels. Members of the People's National Assembly have participated in Washington, the United States, in the opening ceremony of the Global Parliamentary Forum of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, held on the sidelines of the spring meetings of the two financial institutions due to last until April 18th. The discussions focused on global economic fluctuations and their repercussions on the Middle East, employment and unemployment issues, and challenges in the health and education sectors. They discussed the Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the national community abroad, Mr. Sofiane Shaib, has received here in Algiers the African Union Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, Mr. Bankole Adeoye. The meeting it was an emphasis that was put on Algeria's pivotal role at both the regional and continental levels in strengthening a joint African action. Now into our world news. In Sudan, nearly 700 civilians have been killed by drone strikes carried out by the Rapid Support paramilitary forces since January as the conflict enters its fourth year. Mariam Barshi.
In a statement, the UN Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher, today said the international community has failed in its duty to address the Sudanese crisis. For her part, the UN Humanitarian Coordinator and Resident Coordinator in Sudan, Denise Brown, has warned of a worsening humanitarian disaster in the country, stressing that there is a repetition of sexual violence, a repetition of population displacement, and a repetition of all these tragedies.
As you know, the Office of Human Rights, OHCHR, has documented some very important findings. First of all, on the patterns of sexual violence. I've spoken to you about that before. Rape and gang rape. You will have seen MSF's report for Darfur a few weeks ago entitled No Safe Space Left for Women and Girls in Darfur. Second of all, as you know, OHCHR documented the atrocities, the mass atrocities around El Fasher. 6,000 people killed in 3 days, and that's only what we could verify We actually believe the number is much higher. And of course, lastly, the UN independent fact-finding mission for the Sudan refers now to the hallmarks of genocide. So, as I go through all of that with you, we're in the UN speaking openly about the atrocities, the repeat of the atrocities. The question is, why isn't the world outraged enough to do something about it? What more has to happen for everyone to sit up and pay attention to find a solution?
Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross announced that at least 11,000 people have been reported missing since the war in Sudan began 3 years ago, highlighting the deep and lasting psychological suffering endured by the families.
Now back to Algeria. Pope Leo XIV visited today the archaeological site of Ipoin Neba, linked to St. Augustine, where he planted an olive tree as a symbol of peace. Next is a program about the life of St. Augustine presented by our colleague Mohammed Khatel.